Welcome to Retro Sparkle Designs. Today we are going over the Arden Romper. We will need 2 pieces of our shorts binding. We'll need 2 front shorts and 2 back shorts. 1 front and 1 front binding, 1 back and 1 back binding. And then we will need 2 middle bands, 1 main and 1 liner, and then we will need 2 straps. We will also need a piece of 1-inch elastic. We will begin with our shorts. Take your front shorts and place them right sides together. Pin along the crotch curve. And repeat that for the back shorts and go ahead and sew both of those. Now that we have both our front and back shorts sewn together, go ahead and open those up so they are both right sides up. And then you will take your back shorts and place them right sides together with your front shorts. And we will pin the inseam and then go ahead and sew that together. Now that our shorts are one full piece, we will go ahead and put our binding on. So take your binding and you're going to place it right sides together with your shorts. I first like to find the center point of my binding and align it with the center point of the shorts, which is typically that short inseam that you just sewed. So go ahead, line that center point up, place that binding on right sides together, and then go ahead and pin along the edge of the shorts, taking extra care on the curve of the shorts as that part can get a little tricky to sew. And then if you do have any extra binding left over, I just like to trim the edge of that. And go ahead and repeat this on the other side of your shorts and go ahead and sew your binding on. Now that we have our binding sewn onto each side, we're going to go ahead and fold it over. So flip your shorts over so they are wrong sides up. And you're going to take the raw edge of your binding and fold it in half towards your seam. That raw edge will be almost touching your seam line. And then you're going to take your binding and fold it in half again. That way the raw edge is fully encased in your binding. This will also cover up your seam line. So again, take your binding, fold it in half towards your seam, and then fold in half again, fully covering your seam and encasing your raw edge of the binding. Go ahead and do that all the way along the length of your binding. Again, taking caution on those corners just because they can be a little bit tricky, and make sure you're pinning well. Go ahead and repeat the pinning for your other side and then top stitch your binding down. Now that you have your binding on both sides of your shorts, we're going to go ahead and join the sides together. To do that, you are going to take the front shorts and you're going to fold it over the back shorts, lining up your binding and then pinning in place. And then you will be sewing down your binding just on that side seam and a little bit into the curve, so you are keeping your shorts together. Again, we are overlaying the front over the back, pinning, kind of lining up your binding, and then you will be top stitching down that side to hold your shorts together. Here you can see the completed top stitching on the side there. Now we're going to be prepping our middle band. So take each of your middle bands and fold them in half right sides together. Pin along that short edge and sew. Now that each band is sewn into a circle, we're going to go ahead and find our quarter points. So quarter both bands and then quarter your shorts as well. Now we're going to be placing our middle band onto our shorts. So take your main band and you're going to place it over the top of your shorts, right sides together. If you have a directional print, make sure you're lining this up so when you flip your band up, your directional print is going in the correct direction. So again, take your main, place it over your shorts, right sides together. Go ahead and align those quarter points and pin. We're not sewing yet because we still need to place our lining band on. Now take your lining band and you are going to place it inside your shorts, and you're going to place the right side of your band to the wrong side of your shorts. And this will make it so that when you flip your band up, the right side will be facing out or inside, like as the liner. So go ahead and pin that band on as well, lining those quarter points up. And when you're done pinning, you can go ahead and sew all the way around. Now we have our middle bands sewn on. Go ahead and flip those up so the wrong sides are together. And then we're going to go ahead and pin along the top to go ahead and close that up. We do need to leave about a 2 to 3 inch gap so we can feed our elastic through. So go ahead and pin and then sew. Okay, so now you're going to take your elastic piece using a bodkin of some variety. I just have a metal bodkin I like to use, or you can also use a safety pin. You're going to feed your elastic into that gap you left into your waistband casing. So go ahead, feed that all the way through. And when both edges are out, go ahead and overlap them and then stitch them together. I just like to use a zigzag stitch. Now that our elastic is sewn together, we can go ahead and pull it all the way back inside our waist casing. And we're going to go ahead and pin and sew that gap closed. Now we have our shorts with our elastic and our waistband on them. We are going to be moving on to our top. So take your front and place your front binding right sides together, aligning that neckline, and then pin and sew. And we're going to repeat that for our back as well. Now that we have our binding sewn on, we will need to go ahead and fold it over so we can encase our seam and our raw edges. So flip your back piece right sides down. You're going to push your seam towards the raw edge of your binding, and you're going to fold that raw edge of your binding in half towards the seam. Then you're going to fold your binding in half one more time to cover that seam allowance and that raw edge. Go ahead and pin, and then repeat this for your front. Then you can top stitch this so your binding lays nicely. So again, you're going to make sure your seam is pushed up. You're going to fold that raw edge of your binding in half and then fold it in half again so your raw edge is encased and your seam is encased within your binding as well. And again, pin and go ahead and top stitch. Here's our completed binding. We're now going to sew our side seams. So take your front and lay it right sides together with your back. Pin and sew both side seams. Now we have our top sewn together. We're going to be preparing our straps. So take your strap pieces, fold them in half, right sides together, pinning and sewing that short edge. Now with our straps fully in a circle, we're going to be adding them to our bodice. So take your bodice and kind of just fold it in half so you can have the full view of your armicide. And then you're going to be aligning your seam line of your strap to your side seam of your top. And then go ahead and pin that strap on there right sides together. I will go ahead and kind of gently line up the raw edge of the strap to the raw edge of the bottom half armicide. And go ahead and pin that. Just again, gently lining it up. You don't necessarily need to stretch at this time. And then go ahead and repeat that for the other side. So again, I'm going to take my strap and align it to my bodice right sides together, lining up my side seam of my top to the side seam of the strap. And then gently line up the raw edges with very minimal stretching. Now that I have both straps pinned on, I do want to just double check that they're going to be the same length. So I will measure that overhang just to ensure that it is the same. And if it's not, I'll go ahead and adjust my straps a little bit, either stretching one a little bit more or releasing some of the tension on the other. Luckily, in this case, mine actually matched up. So then now go ahead and sew those straps on. You can sew fully around the strap if you like. I just prefer to sew only along the attachment point. Now that our strap binding is fully attached, we're going to go ahead and cover our raw edges and our seams. So again, like previous binding, I like to push my seam up towards the raw edge of that binding. We're going to fold our binding in half once and then fold it in half again. So that will, again, enclose our raw edge and cover our seam. So I'm going to go ahead and do this the full way around my armicide. It does get a little tricky when you go from where your binding is attached to the top to where your binding is just kind of free floating. So I like to just place extra pins right along the neck and the back line to make sure that stays together nicely. And then for that open spot where the strap binding is just free floating, you're going to take both raw edges and you're going to fold them in half towards the center. And then you're going to fold in half again and then go ahead and pin that. Repeat for your other strap binding. And then when pinned, go ahead and top stitch all the way around. Here's our completed top. Now we just need to attach it to our shorts. So go ahead and quarter the bottom of your bodice. Now we're going to take our bodice and we're going to place it inside our shorts. So flip your shorts inside out and then take your bodice. Make sure your front and your back are in the correct spot. Take your bodice and slip it in so right sides will be together. Then go ahead and pin those quarter points, matching them up and aligning those raw edges. And then go ahead and sew so your bodice and shorts are attached. Now go ahead and flip your romper right sides out and you are finished.